Everybody. Good morning. Welcome, welcome. What an exciting day. A lot of fun stuff planned for you. But today, I get to talk to you about the brand new product that we just talked about, Managed MongoDB. So welcome to Deploy, everyone. Please say your messages and say hello in chat, and we'll get to those. But let's get right into it. Today, for my talk, I'll be talking about accelerating application development. And this is something that is near and dear to my heart because accelerating app development to me means focusing on customers and focusing less on managing your infrastructure, managing anything in the back end. We have to get in front of our customers and get value to them as fast as possible so that we can increase our help to our niche and everything that we do for our customers. So really, this talk is going to be about accelerating app development with managed databases, which is a fantastic product. And even beyond that, we're going to talk about managing MongoDB, which is the new offering from DigitalOcean, which I'm really excited about. A very simple, easy, and affordable way to add in MongoDB to your stacks. And on top of that, our previous product launch that I'm still excited about is App Platform. So MongoDB plus App Platform is a fantastic stack, and let's talk about it. So hi there, I'm Chris Sev. I'm a senior developer advocate here at DigitalOcean. And before this, I started, built, and got a business acquired. And from the beginning, it was hosted on DigitalOcean. So today's topic of power your business here at the Deploy conference is really near and dear to my heart because that's what I think so many people are here to do, right? They're here to start a business, see it grow, help customers, help people, and see where it goes. But really, we're talking about MongoDB here today. So I think this slide is more appropriate looking like this. So this is an object, right? And that's what MongoDB is about, is object storage, document storage database. And we'll talk about that here today. So let's talk about building applications. There are many different ways to build an app, and every one has its own valid reasons for doing it and really could fit any use case as long as it fits your use case, right? So let's talk about a couple different ways that we can build applications and what a stack would look like for those applications. So let's say the all-in-one application where everything is kind of sitting inside of one droplet, which is what I started my career on, is having everything thrown into one droplet, database, backend, front end, all of it in one little house. And that's totally valid. But as we start to grow, we start to see that maybe there are some things that we need to maneuver around in this stack so that we can be more scalable and grow as our business grows. So the database problems here is that you have to scale it yourself. You have to back it up yourself. You have to update it yourself, and you have to secure it yourself. So the database that you manage yourself when you spin up your own VPC or VPS, sorry, and build out your database, these are all the problems that you have to deal with and your maintenance. And this isn't just your database, right? This is your server as well. So it could fit for your situation. But I think for the database, there's a lot of that stuff, maintenance, updates, that we don't really need to deal with. I think we can do a little bit better here. I think for databases, we can manage even less. And by managing less and spending less time on all those things we just talked about, scaling, backups, all that fun stuff, we can focus more on our core value to our customers. And we can do all that with managed databases. So if we look back at that original example we just saw, the all-in-one database, we have our database, we have our backend, we have our front end, and they're all managed by us as the developer. But what we can do is move this out and say, look, let's manage the database. Let's not manage the database. And now we are just focused on our backend and our front end. And the way that works, the user no longer has to manage the database. DigitalOcean does. That's Sammy right there. That's our mascot. And Now that is no longer in our wheelhouse. That's no longer in our responsibilities. And that's fantastic because you get to move responsibility out, you get to delegate, and you get to focus on what is core to your company. So if we talk about managed database benefits, there is better performance, higher security, easier scaling, and I'll show you a bit about that later in this talk. It's just one click and you're good to go. And it's a better developer experience because you are going to spin up a database and you don't have to manage it, you don't have to provision it, you don't have to do any of that stuff. You just get a connection string and you're off to the races. Managed MongoDB benefits on top of the managed database benefits is really cool because it's perfect for JavaScript applications. And JavaScript is blowing up right now, but it isn't specific to JavaScript. MongoDB can be used for any number of applications, whether it be your Laravel apps, your Django apps, and your Node apps. And it's schemaless, so when you build out your documents and your database, you don't really have to worry too much about migrations and your overall structure of your database. It really lets us build quickly. It's change friendly. Again, we talk about migrations. That's one of the biggest maintenance things and things to deal with when working with databases. MongoDB lets us quickly add to our database, maneuver around it, and update it. And on top of that, we get some powerful querying for MongoDB, which comes right out of the box to grab any bits of data that we need. So if we look at this object again, we have our key value storage, and that's the main bread and butter of MongoDB is we are storing things in a key value format, and we have the ability to query all of that, which can directly translate to our applications, which makes it fantastic for ease of use and for productivity. So I'm really excited about Managed MongoDB with DigitalOcean starting at $15 a month, affordable, predictable pricing. I think this is a fantastic way to add MongoDB to any of your applications. And for myself, I do a few Node APIs, but mostly I'm working Jamstack serverless functions. This is a fantastic database to just say, look, let's spin one up, let's get a connection string, and let's go use it in those serverless functions. And we'll talk about that in this talk as well. So let's look at what spinning up MongoDB on DigitalOcean looks like. We talk about ease of use, we talk about simplicity. Let's see it in action. So here we have the ability to create 4 different databases on DigitalOcean. We're going to choose MongoDB here. And when we go with MongoDB, we have the ability to choose our cluster configuration. So we can start out with a $15 a month plan. And what's cool is we can one-click add 2 standby nodes so that we can fail over if our main node happens to go out. We'll choose a data center. We can see New York has 4 droplets as well. You want them close to your droplets, just so your database has lower latency when connecting to any of your applications. And of course, we'll name it ourselves, and we'll create a database cluster here. And we'll see that DigitalOcean goes ahead and spins up this database, and we can configure it while it's provisioning. So we can restrict inbound connections to my computer IP right here. You can also do your droplets and your apps. And immediately we get a connection string where we can actually show the password here, copy this, and we can paste this into whatever application we're using and directly connect to our database and start using it. We can insert, we can do all the CRUD operations. And there's also some docs here to talk about migrating old data into this MongoDB instance. So we'll let this create. That's our UI for building out brand new MongoDB databases. We really hope you like it. It's as clean as we could make it. You show password here again. And what we can do is copy that. And also we have the ability to download the certificate for some stronger connections, more secure connections. All right, so there we go. That's connecting to, that's spinning up a new MongoDB instance. So really, it's a couple clicks, get a connection string, and go build an application. So let's talk about what building that app looks like. We have connecting to MongoDB, and we'll do this in Node because Node is a JavaScript backend language, and it really helps lends to building out MongoDB applications quickly because JavaScript really works well with MongoDB. So connecting to MongoDB, we're going to use the package called MongoDB, the official Mongo driver from MongoDB, and we're going to grab the Mongo client from there. And check this out. It's only going to be 3 more lines to connect to this database. We are going to say URL is going to be the database URL, which is that connection string we just got from our dashboard. And of course, we're storing this in an environment variable. Want to stay safe there. And the next 2 lines is how we connect to the database. So we'll go ahead and say client is connect, MongoDB client connect. And then we're going to say database is client.db, and we'll pick the database that we want to connect to. And those 4 lines is how we're going to connect to our database, our brand new database. So just like that, we are able to start building out really fun applications. And let's take a look at what that looks like also. So we have creating a Node API here. And I think APIs are all over the place these days. I think that learning how to build an API is crucial to knowing how to build any of your applications, at least knowing that connection to the database, whether your code is in a Node API or we put it in a serverless function. As long as you understand that connection to the database, how to grab data, query for data, I think that's a really powerful developer experience there. So if we talk about CRUD, we got create, read, update, delete. Let's go real quick through these and see what each of these looks like. So creating is if we have a Node Express app, we have app.posts, and we're going to create a post here. And we're going to say post await DB. We'll insert it into a correct collection, and we'll just insert one, and we'll say the title is easy. So there we go. With a few lines of code, we were able to create a brand new document inside our MongoDB instance. Let's look at read. So read is going to get all of the information there, and even further than that, you can query it. But the only things that really change is the .get right up there, because this HTTP request is going to happen with a .get. And down there, we have .find, and we just leave it an empty object, which means just get everything and bring it back. All right, what about update? That's probably a little bit more intensive than the read all or the create. So let's go look at that. We have app.put or patch. Post, you pass in your post ID, and then you just use this update one method right here. Title, and then you set the title to new. And the last one of our CRUD is delete, where we do app.delete. And you just do delete one and you query for it with the title of easy. So really, just like that, we were able to create a MongoDB instance, connect to it, and build out a Node API with whatever application you need to use, whatever types of models that you are going to CRUD on. So all in all, I think that's a really, really fantastic developer experience, is getting the database and going right to connecting and building. We didn't really have to mess with too many migrations or anything like that, or database modeling. You're just throwing in documents into your MongoDB database. And that's cool because we can manage less, right? We can do less, we can do more with less. All we needed there was the connection string. And we can manage even less with App Platform. So normally we would host that Node API on a droplet or whatever your hosting environment looks like. But we can do even more. With App Platform, we can take away more responsibility from ourselves and delegate it so that we can focus even more fine-tuned on what we need to focus on. So we have the managed database setup where the database is managed. We just connect to it using a connection string. Don't have to worry about scaling, analytics, updates, all that good stuff. And here is our droplet in the pink, but there's still a lot here that has to be done that we didn't really see at first, right? There's actually SSL, CI/CD, analytics, scaling, all this good stuff, CDN, all of that that you still have to deal with when you're building out your applications. So when we look at deploying all of this Node API to App Platform, a lot of that gets taken out of our hands and pushed over to Sammy the Shark right there. And now we can focus on our two things, back end and front end again. So really, this is the way that we can accelerate app development is focusing on what's important to us. So we don't need to manage the database. We don't need to manage the server. We let App Platform and managed databases do that for us. So let's talk about App Platform deploying from GitHub. I just want to quickly show you that app that we just created in our Node API, what that looks like. We are going to go ahead and say, let's go from GitHub. We'll pull from GitHub. We are going to choose our repo. We called it Node Mongo CRUD. We'll pull out of the main branch and we'll auto deploy code changes. So anytime we push to this GitHub repo, App Platform will say, okay, I'll pull it in. We'll pick source directory, and this is our setup for a new app. There are no environment variables yet, but we know we need our database URL there. And this is where App Platform gets really fun. You can add a database. I think this is what makes App Platform unique in that you can take a static site or a server-side application and quickly just click add a database. And here we have added the MongoDB database that we created earlier. And we have two components. That's what App Platform excels at, is bringing in all these components to build an app. So here we are. Let's name it. Let's pick a region and we'll deploy it. We'll pick our pricing and go ahead and deploy. And notice that we'll have a deploy error here. And that, let's check it out. We'll see our logs. We'll go down here and we'll see that, oh, look, we need a CA cert. So the way that I built this out is it uses the CA cert to use the certificate to connect to Mongo. So we're going to go down here and we can add an environment variable. We have database URL automatically populated, and we'll say CA cert, and we'll add that in here. So we can call out the database by using that Mongo is awesome object. And once we go ahead and click update, it'll go ahead, spin it up, and use all of those connection details. It'll pass it in as an environment variable, and we'll deploy successfully there. So next up, let's talk about one less thing that we have to manage. We'll do serverless functions. So if we have our backend here and our front end, we have two separate repos, really. We have our Node API, and we have our front end, whatever you build it in, JavaScript, Jekyll, whatever you're doing. But what if we could use serverless functions and throw the backend into the front end so we don't have to manage a Node API? So now there's even one less thing we have to manage. So what's cool about that is all of the code that we wrote before can move into their own files. And this is a Next.js app. This is how Next.js handles serverless functions. So all of that goes over there. So that's easy scaling, or next up, sorry, is easy scaling. We can go into our database, into our settings, and quickly just click on the size that we want, standby nodes, click save, and DigitalOcean will go ahead and scale that for us. So that's a lot of content there for building out MongoDB database applications and Node APIs, serverless functions, if you wanted to go with a Jamstack route. So let's say accelerate all your apps with Manage MongoDB and accelerate all your apps with App Platform. And you can accelerate your apps by focusing on your value. So not focusing on too much of the backend stuff that nobody really knows how you're handling your updates for your database. That's not important to your customers. What is the front end and the experience that you build for them. So that's a really exciting product. And I am very excited to say that I'm looking forward to building a lot of stuff. I hope you are looking forward to spinning up your own MongoDB clusters and building out fun applications with them. So in that spirit, I'd love to announce that today we are launching our MongoDB hackathon. So We are going to run a 3-week-long hackathon. We're calling it the Every App is a CRUD App Hackathon, and it's going from June 29th to July 20th. And the requirements here is if you've ever had a side project or an app that you've wanted to build, but just haven't had the time, a hackathon is a great way to force yourself to jump in and do it. So build a MongoDB app, and by submitting a valid app, which handles CRUD applications, CRUD operations, and has a UI, you're going to get a DigitalOcean t-shirt. So I think that's a really, really fun program, and I'll be doing it myself. I'm hoping to deploy maybe 2 apps, but you can find out more information at digitalocean.com/mongodb-hackathon. And there's also a Discord channel in Discord where I'll be hanging out and we'll be talking all day, MongoDB-hackathon. Right on. I hope that was informative. Thank you so much for joining. I'm really excited about the rest of today. I will see you all in Discord. Happy coding. Thanks, everybody.